And I've, really enjoyed working with Jim all these years. He's by far the best teacher in the business. Well, I've always felt that there were a couple of things that differentiated Jim from a lot of the other teachers, and there's lots of good teachers. One is I felt that Jim's approach was unique at a time where he would be able to take pieces of other players, of other professionals' games, and integrate those thoughts or those swing moves into your own swing, what would have been appropriate for you. In other words, Jim did not teach a one-size-fits-all, and I thought that flexibility really made him effective. The other thing I thought that made Jim effective for me in terms of competitive golf was that Jim was a great player. Jim had won numerous tournaments in his amateur career, played in the Masters, and so he played in a lot of high-pressure situations, knew what it was like to play under pressure. And for someone like myself, early on in my amateur competitive career, just having those experiences, or sharing those, or having Jim share those experiences with me was very, very helpful. I can tell you Jim has always embraced technology. I remember back in the early and mid-'70s at Westchester using that camera that took 8 or 10 frames of a swing. It was like a Polaroid camera, and that's basically all you had then to sort of look at a swing and look at the positions you were in at various parts of the game. But having said that, I mean, Jim, for some people, the technology is important, and for others, it may be a slightly different approach, maybe a less technological approach in terms of whatever's the most effective for you. And again, I think that's been one of Jim's real strengths, is that he teaches to the person's needs, not to some, predetermined formula. I've always recommended coming to Jim's schools for both beginners and advanced players, for very simply for the reasons that the schools for the beginners are great. You've got great teachers who teach the fundamentals, the basic fundamentals of the game, in a very professional, what's the word I'm searching for? Yeah, it's really a professional atmosphere. The school, all the facility itself. And for your advanced players, they step it up a notch or two to whatever's to whatever is really needed to make it a challenge for the advanced players. So it's being able to address, I think, the beginners in an effective manner as well as your advanced players, and I think that's really speaks to the quality of the staff that Jim's got at these schools.
I think he's the leader among all the teachers. For me personally, Jim's been a great instructor, but he's also been a great coach. And not all instructors are great coaches. And a great coach to me encompasses all the different things for a player like myself to try and get better. So Jim sent me to people like Jackie Burke and to Ken Venturi and all the older golfers that have been around the block, that really have all the experience that I can try and receive by them for me to mature as a golfer and a person and a player. So I like to hear all the old stories and how it used to be, and I think the younger golfers should have that history lesson from time to time, and I think it makes us not only better golfers but better people. He knows, he can play golf. He can still play golf. He was a competitive golfer in tournaments, and he can still play. He can still shoot par. And not a lot of the great instructors can go out and break par. So that's one of the things. Jim's training methods, I think, are great for his instructors under him. Every time Jim gets an instructor, that instructor has to work a year or two directly under Jim, so he's trained in the way that he knows what's going on. So you don't get one instructor kind of fly-by-the-night kind of guy, and then he's changing Jim McLean's name around and methods around on how Jim wants to teach people. So I know for a fact, I can tell you 30 instructors under Jim that I've worked with personally with Jim. They're all fantastic. They're all people that I would recommend to have my friends go to get lessons if they can't see Jim. Well, Brad Faxon told me that same thing. I asked Brad 12 years ago, where I'm looking for to work with a golf instructor. Who do you recommend? And he said, I'd recommend Jim McLean. He's probably the best for you to go see. And I've been with him for 12 years. So I would recommend people to go see Jim. Why? Because Jim, he encompasses all the aspects that we've talked about. He encompasses the physical part, the mental part, the video. I think he's one of the best instructors on video knowledge of what's important in the swing and what's not important in the swing. You know, there are some things in the golf swing that really aren't that important that people get fixed on. So Jim knows from all the research he's done. And then he also trains his instructors under him to look at different things. So they do all kinds of studies of what the top 150 tour players, what they have in common, what they don't have in common. So I would definitely recommend, go see Jim McLean and any of the instructors under Jim, because they're all trained to the highest degree.
First and foremost, he's a wonderful teacher, and he understands the game. He's worked at it very hard, and I would tell you that all of us here, more so than just being impressed by the facility, are proud of him. He's done a lot to impact this game, and the early days at Houston, I know that he was, and still is really, as talented with the golf club in terms of hitting a golf ball, playing golf, as anybody I've ever seen. But back then, he was equally as curious about the game and about the golf swing and how it worked. And he was always quick to want to know all there was to know about the golf swing, studying Hogan, studying Nelson, studying all the great players. And he decided that playing wasn't for him, and he used all that great knowledge and all that early inquisitiveness to build a kind of a teaching empire, really. He certainly had a style that has separated him, and I don't think that he's ever fallen into the category of a method teacher. I think that he's built his whole reputation on, first of all, credibility and understanding the golf swing and the golf game. And he's taken the whole everything about golf, the mental part of the physical part, and he's incorporated it into a very understandable and a very easily communicated style of teaching. And he demands it from all the people that work for him. And not that there are others that have, but I think Jim's done it as well as anybody.
I think, as far as the elite instruction, the understanding of biomechanical feedback, the fitness aspect, club fitting, all of that needs to be addressed if you're going to teach top-level players and get them to perform at their best. And, Jim's done a great job here. It's unbelievable. Partly fact-finding for me. I need to catch up. Well, Jim does a great job. He's an excellent teacher, always has been, and, he's always been able to help people play better golf. So a lot of this is just a byproduct of him doing a great job teaching.